Cyber attacks to steal user information is on the rise, with phishing reports more than doubling last year compared to 2021. And the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore says that this mirrors global trends. Around 8,500 phishing attempts were reported last year, with more than 8 in 10 sites pretending to be banks or other financial services. Government agencies and logistics providers were also commonly imitated. And phishing campaigns are evolving. More than half of the reported cases involved links ending with .xyz. Now, such URLs cost just a third for what you'd pay for a .com domain. Malicious actors buy them in bulk for large-scale attacks. Phishing links are also getting shorter. Authorities say that this suggests that threat actors are using URL shortener services like bit.ly to look less fishy.
Traditionally, some of the phishing URLs tend to be long and easily recognized as suspicious links. But the use of link shorteners such as the bit.ly or the bit.ly links tend to mask the actual the URL use, and this will trick victims to think that they're legit accounts, or rather they're legit URLs.
Ransomware is still a major issue, even as cases fell by 5 to 132, or an average of about 1 every 3 days. And most victims were small and medium-sized enterprises in manufacturing and retail. Other threats like infected systems and defaced websites both saw a drop from the year before.
To crack this further, we have us in studio Mr. Teo Siang Zheng. Now, he's Vice President of Ensign Info Security, which contributed to this cyber landscape report. Now, Mr. Teo, we just heard from my colleague there, phishing reports doubling, but if we're looking for some silver linings in a very black cloud, we've got fewer cyber threats in the form of infected systems and web-based defacements. Are these significant improvements?
Being in the business of cyber defense, we'll take the good news for what it's worth. And this is really because when we are in the defense, there's a very disproportionate effect that we have as defenders against the attackers. When we are looking at some of these statistics and measurements, it's important for us to reflect a few things. First and foremost, organizations that are actually attacked or facing an incident might not actually be reporting them. Second, in terms of whatever we can see and monitor, it might not be a complete representation. However, it is a representative example from which we can glean some trends that are meaningful for us. So once again, I think any indicative trend downwards is good news that we will take away.
Mr. Teo, you say that some of these organizations, they may just not be reporting the fact that they've been attacked. I mean, they must have specific reasons for that. But these threats, they keep evolving very quickly and they keep changing. What are some of the serious ones that we've seen for the first half of this year?
I think what is commonly seen today and also illustrated in the report as something that we typically use in trend analysis is we look a little bit at the history and then we try to forecast or predict what's coming next. But easily from what has happened in the first part of the year is with the exuberance of the use of ChatGPT, generative AI, large language models, powered artificial intelligence, the same way that businesses would use it for good and productive outcomes, the threat actors are also using it for their malicious purposes. So we are seeing the use of large language models in phishing attacks to create natural human communication nature. They would allow the contextualization that is what we would have in regular communications. They might also bring into additional context such as difference in languages, accents, that seem very natural and not the typical telltale signs that we would have gone through security awareness training where they say, oh, look out for the misspelling, look out for the lack of punctuation. So this makes it a lot easier for the gullible people among us to actually fall prey to these attempts. Yeah. Right. Another aspect that we have seen is really the increased use at scale of malicious websites, as also highlighted in the report. They are no longer as precise and resource conservative. When I say they, I refer to the threat actors. but they want to run it at scale, and it's leaning towards some aspects of spray and pray. So they would do it at a very big scale and hope that whatever they hit, they will take advantage of it and move on from there.
Right. So essentially what you've spelled out is a fast evolving and a very cleverly evolving threat actor kind of, the things they're carrying out. If you are small, not just gullible, you don't have the money to manage this kind of thing. What can small or medium-sized enterprises do to manage this continually evolving and expanding risk?
Yeah. I think one of the first things that we need to be reminded is the government has actually made available several resources that small and medium enterprises can take advantage of. The SG Cyber Safe program is one such program where there's a website, SMEs can very easily visit the portal and be able to gain access to services, knowledge, and all that. The second aspect is to plug into associations as well as consortiums that are providing cyber advisory. Another element that I encourage SMEs to consider is really tap into cybersecurity services providers like Ensign, where there can be very economical services that they tap into for continuous monitoring, what we call managed security services, or in the bad situation where they are facing an incident, then they can tap into incident response services to be able to help them tide through the crisis, so to speak. So I think these are some of the things that SMEs should be mindful of, aware of, and take advantage of.
Mr. Teo, you mentioned the increasing use of things like ChatGPT. I mean, it's taken a lot of people's sort of interest and so on and attention. And we are seeing a lot of generative AI. What are the specific threats of this particular technology for us?
As I mentioned earlier, because generative AI leverages on large language models, the humanness of the communication comes across, and it's also been highlighted in the report from a chatbot's perspective. So the interaction sounds natural, and you're feeling that it's not so much I'm speaking to a robot, but more like there's a person on the other side. But to the other aspects of this AI exploitation or generative AI, we are seeing a further exuberance of what was in the past known as deepfakes. Where very small sample sets of publicly available information, our photos, for example, or even voice samples that have been acquired from social media, from some of the robocalls that sometimes you pick up and say, hello, I am so-and-so, who's that on the line? Are you sure you made the right call? These small samples can then be used to model after and mimic your own voice. As has been an experiment in Japan where the Prime Minister's voice was actually emulated. And there was a bit of a surprise there. But these kind of opportunities and samples that we naturally make as a participant in social media already can support generative outcomes. Now, the immediate impact towards that is when in conventional business, where we are trying to validate, are you who you represent? Then if I have already compromised your devices, the callback feature to verify who you are might not be representative of the identity that you represent. So there could be a scam caller at the other end playing or taking advantage of these tools to represent you and exact a malicious outcome, for example, a bank transfer or something else.
Alarming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming into the studios to share that with us,
for outlining in such detail as well.
Yes,
the risk.
Mr. Teo Xiang Zheng there. He's Vice President of Advisory at Ensign Infosecurity.